The sky over Noria was peaceful. Two small suns floated in the distance, casting soft orange light across the quiet forests and blue rivers. The air was fresh, and the cities of the Norians were calm. They were a gentle species, tall, thin, with large eyes and soft voices. Their world had not seen war in thousands of years. Most Norians believed that peace was natural, but that peace was about to end. High above the planet, a research station named Hope's Edge floated in orbit. Inside, a Norian named Riello watched the sky with worry. He was young for his kind, but skilled in energy studies. He tapped the side of his control screen, hoping the readings were wrong. They were not. The same dark signal kept flashing again and again. He turned to the head of the station, Director Vela, and spoke with fear in his voice. "Mum, the Mecran swarm has entered our system. We are the first ones they will reach." Director Vela stood silently, her long fingers curled on the side of her chair. The Mecran swarm was a legend to many Norians, a terrible story from old times. Machines that moved like insects, feeding on metal, power, and life. Some said they could never be stopped. Others said they were just rumors. But the signal was real. "We must send a message," Vela said. "Call for help." "But who will come?" Riello asked. "The Council? They are too far. The trade worlds, they fear the swarm as we do." Vela closed her eyes and made a hard choice. "There's one more option. A world far beyond our edge. A place we have never contacted." Riello stared at her, shocked. "You mean Earth?" "Yes," she said. "The Death World." Riello's hands shook. "The stories say Earth is full of storms, fire, and wild creatures. The people there are—" He paused. "Different." Vela nodded. "They are. But they are the only ones who might understand war. We have lived in peace for too long. We don't know how to fight, but they do." With trembling fingers, Riello opened a long forbidden channel and began to send the emergency signal. It carried one message in all the old star languages. "This is Noria. We are under threat by the Mecran swarm. We ask for help. Please respond." The signal shot into space, bouncing from star to star. Noria held its breath. On the far side of the galaxy, a small base sat on Earth's moon. It was not used often. Just a few old satellites and quiet machines remained. One human technician named Daniel sipped hot tea and looked at a dusty screen. He almost missed the blinking red light. "What's this?" he said, leaning closer. He tapped a few buttons. The message repeated in an old code used before the Galactic Council had banned direct contact. With Earth. His eyes widened. An SOS. From Noria. He called his superior. "Commander Tessa, you need to see this." A tall woman appeared on screen. Her dark hair was tied back, and her eyes were sharp. "What is it, Daniel?" He showed her the signal. Her face grew serious. "They're calling Earth." "Yes," Daniel said. "They're asking for help against the Mecran swarm." Tessa paused. "That name hasn't come up in decades. Should we answer?" Daniel asked. She looked at him. "We don't leave people behind. Prepare a ship." Back on Noria, 3 days had passed. The skies above the outer moon had turned black. Mecran ships circled slowly, waiting. People in cities whispered in fear. Leaders met in secret chambers. Some wanted to hide underground. Others wanted to send more messages. But many had already given up. Riello sat by his screen, watching for any reply. His eyes were tired. He had not slept since they sent the message. Suddenly, the screen blinked. Message received. Response launching. ETA 16 hours. Riello jumped from his seat. They answered. Earth answered. Director Vela ran in. "Is it real?" "Yes," he said. "They are coming." The message was short, and it gave no details, just the name of the ship, Spear Point. The Council of Noria gathered at the sky dock, watching the dark sky. "They are called Deathworlders for a reason," one elder said. "They may save us or bring more danger." "There are only hope," Vela said. As the stars twinkled above, a bright silver light appeared in the distance. The Spear Point had arrived. On the bridge of the human ship, Commander Tessa stood tall. Beside her were 2 crew members, Rick, the quiet engineer with sharp hands and calm eyes, and Mila, a science officer who loved old stories of the stars. Tessa looked at the world below. Pretty place. She said, "Let's try not to break it." Rick smiled. No promises. They activated the landing gear below. The Norians watched as the strange human ship lowered through the clouds. Its shape was hard and sharp, unlike their soft round crafts. Fire followed its tail as it entered the sky. Children clung to their parents. Some elders turned away. The ship touched the ground. A door opened. 3 humans stepped out, dressed in strong armor but carrying no weapons in their hands. Director Vela stepped forward, her heart pounding. She spoke in the common tongue. "Thank you for coming." Tessa nodded. "We got your call. We'll help." Vela looked at her closely. "Are you warriors?" Tessa answered, "Not always. But we know how to stop a fight." Riella whispered to another Norian. They looked so calm. The other replied, "That's what scares me." Far above, the Mecran swarm began to move again. The humans stood in front of the Norian leaders. Their faces showed no fear, only focus. Commander Tessa looked around at the wide hall, the high glass windows, and the shining floors. The Norians had built a beautiful world. It was full of peace and art, but Tessa knew beauty could not stop war. Director Vela stepped forward. "We are thankful you came so quickly." Tessa nodded. "You sent an SOS. We heard it. What do you know about the enemy?" Vela showed a large map on the wall. Red dots blinked across the sky. "The Mecran swarm entered our system 4 days ago. They have not attacked yet, but they are watching, waiting." Rick stepped closer to the map. "That's what they always do. They learn, then they strike hard." Mila asked, "Do you have any defense systems?" Vela looked down. "No. We believe peace will last forever. We were wrong." Tessa walked around the room, thinking. She stopped in front of a tall Norian with silver skin. "What's your name?" she asked. "Leo." He said, "I am part of the Science Union." "Good," said Tessa. "You'll help Mila study the swarm." Then she turned to Rick. "You'll start scanning their pattern. I'll speak to the council." Vela looked surprised. "You're taking control." Tessa said calmly, "You asked for help. We're here to win, not to talk." In the skies above Noria, the Mecran swarm moved like dark clouds. Their ships had no windows, no pilots, no motion. They followed only one command: consume. Inside the main swarm ship, machines clicked and hummed. A glowing core sent silent messages across the fleet. It had picked up the human ship's arrival. Now it began to change its plan. Down below, Mila and Leo studied the old data. They watched past attacks from other planets. The swarm never stopped. It always adapted. Mila frowned. "They don't fight like living things. They don't fear pain. They don't retreat." Leo nodded. "Our people have no weapon to face them." Mila opened her case. "Earth does." She pulled out a small cube. She pressed a button. A hologram appeared, showing a powerful energy wave crashing into a group of machines. They melted in seconds. "This is a gravity burst," Mila said. "It folds space for a moment. We've used it on asteroid belts. It will break their lines if we aim it right." Leo looked amazed. "But that could tear the sky open." Mila smiled. "Only a little." Meanwhile, Rick walked along the Norian power towers. Their energy systems were smooth, quiet, and slow. Earth's systems were loud and strong. He adjusted the connectors and added new wiring. Some Norian workers watched from a distance. One of them asked, "Why are you changing our core?" Rick answered, "Because your core is like a candle. We need it to burn like a star." He added a pulse driver and set the frequency to high. The machine hummed louder. The lights flickered across the city. "Now we can fire weapons from space." Rick said. The worker asked, "Do you always make things so fast?" Rick smiled. "Yes, or we die." At the city hall, Tessa faced the Norian council. They were not soldiers. They were thinkers and artists. They had never commanded troops or built ships for war. One of the elders asked, "Are you sure fighting is the only answer?" Tessa stood straight. "They are not here to talk. They don't make peace. They take everything and leave nothing." Another elder asked, "But why you? Why do humans care?" Tessa looked out the window at the sky. Long ago, Earth warned the galaxy about machines like these. No one listened. So we left the council. But now they are here again. She turned back to them. You sent a message. Earth heard it. We do not come for medals. We come to stop the fire before it spreads. The room was silent. Then one council member stood. Then we will give you command. Protect our people. Tessa nodded once. We will. Night fell on Noria. For the first time in years, the people stayed inside. The stars above were covered by the shadow of the swarm. Families held each other close. Children asked if the sky was broken. At the landing bay, the humans finished their setup. The spear point was ready to launch its weapons. Rick had connected the ship to the Norin grid. Mila had marked the enemy positions. Tessa had set the attack plan. Inside the ship, Mila looked at the timer. Enemy movement detected. She said, "How many?" Tessa asked. "More than 200 ships, coming in a wide wave." Tessa gave the order. Begin defense mode. Activate the first cannon. Outside, the ship opened a long panel. A silent beam of light shot into the sky. It spread like a net, slowing down the front line of the Mecran swarm. Rick activated the pulse towers. They released sonic waves that confused the smaller enemy drones. Mila pressed the gravity cube. Target locked. Fire, said Tessa. A silver flash burst from the ship. It hit the center of the swarm and folded space for 3 seconds. In those seconds, 15 enemy ships cracked and fell. The sky lit up. The Norians watched from their windows. Some covered their mouths. Some wept. Director Vel whispered, "I've never seen such power." Tessa's voice came through the city speaker. "This is just the start." Far above, in the core of the swarm, the machines adjusted. Their enemy had changed. The Deathworlders were not like others. They did not run. They struck first. The Mecran swarm began to send a new message through its ranks. It marked Earth as a threat level 1. It would now focus on removing the humans. Before it could eat the rest, back in the command room, Mila looked at the damage report. "We took out part of their front line, but they're still coming," Tessa answered. "Then we hit harder next time," Rick added. "They're sending signals between ships. I can try to break their pattern." Mila smiled. "Let's break." More than that, the 3 humans looked at each other. Around them, the Norian world waited. The people still did not understand humans fully, but they knew this much: Earth had answered the call, and Earth was not afraid. The morning light on Noria was dim. The sky, once clear and full of soft colors, now carried a faint shadow. The Mecran swarm had pulled back after the human attack, but their presence was still strong. People walked the streets quietly. They looked up at the sky often. They whispered to one another. Inside the main control hall, Commander Tessa stood beside Director Vela. Behind them, screens showed the remains of the first battle. Broken Mecran ships floated in the upper sky, but more were coming. They will change their plan, Tessa said. Vela nodded slowly. "They always adapt." "Yes," Tessa said. "They watch and learn." "But we do the same." Rick walked in, carrying a small device. "I cracked part of their signal. They use a shared control network. If we hit that network hard, we can freeze them for a few seconds." Vela asked. "What happens in those few seconds?" Rick answered. "We hit harder." Leo, the Norian science expert, looked nervous. "We've never fought like this. Everything feels fast." Mila placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's how it feels at first. Then you learn to keep moving." Outside the city, people began to gather at the main square. They wanted to see the humans. Stories had started to spread. Some said the humans had come from a world where fire fell from the sky. Others said they had eyes that could see into the future. Most people did not know what to believe, but they were curious. Tessa agreed to speak with them. She stepped onto the platform, standing between Norian guards. The crowd grew silent. "I know your world is peaceful," she said. "I know war is not part of your life. But danger has arrived. You sent a message into space, and Earth answered. We are here to fight, but we are also here to protect." A small child in the front row raised her hand. "Are you really from the Death World?" Tessa gave a small smile. "Yes, but don't be afraid of that. It made us strong, not cruel." The people listened carefully. Some nodded, some still looked unsure, but many began to feel something new. Hope. In the Science Center, Mila and Leo continued their research. They found a strange pattern in the Mecran ships. Every ship was connected to a larger control signal. Mila followed the data and saw something strange. This signal doesn't come from the ships, she said. It comes from somewhere else. Farther out in space, Leo asked. A master ship, maybe, Mila said, or something even bigger. We need to find its location. She connected with Rick, who added the signal to the scan grid. If we find it, Rick said, we take it out. Later that night, the human crew returned to the spear point to rest and plan. The Norian workers had set up a support area nearby, offering food and clean air pods. It was a quiet moment, but everyone felt the weight of what was coming. Inside the ship, Mila looked through old files from Earth's war records. She found a report on the Mecran swarm's first appearance many years ago. The report was clear. The swarm had destroyed 3 colonies in a single week. No survivors were found. Earth had responded fast and pushed them back, but the cost was high. Tessa sat nearby. They never forget a fight. If we hurt them now, they will remember us, Rick added. Good. Let them remember. Mila looked at both of them. Do you think the Norians understand who we are? Tessa thought for a moment. Not yet, but they will. The next day, the sky darkened again. This time, the swarm moved in a different shape. It was no longer a wide line. It had formed into a spiral, with drones flying in a tight motion. Rick pointed at the screen. They're protecting something. Mila zoomed in. That's the control node. They brought it closer. Tessa gave the order. We go now. The spear point launched into the sky. The people of Noria watched it rise. A silver streak of light against the growing shadow. Many held hands. Some prayed. Others just stood quietly, waiting. Inside the ship, Tessa spoke calmly. We take out the control node first. Then we break the swarm. Rick activated the shields. Mila loaded the second gravity burst. The ship moved fast, rising above the clouds, and entering the swarm's outer ring. Enemy drones swarmed around them. Small machine ships fired bursts of light and heat. Rick dodged and spun the spear point, moving between them like a bird in a storm. Mila locked on the target. Control node in range. Tessa said, fire. The ship's weapon released a bright blast. It struck the center of the spiral. The node pulsed, then shattered. A loud silence followed. The enemy ships froze for seconds. Tessa didn't wait. Use the burst now. Mila launched them. Gravity weapon. It hit the middle of the swarm, pulling ships together and crushing them with space pressure. Dozens broke apart at once. Rick smiled. That's going to leave a mark. The remaining ships began to fall back. The spear point returned to Noria. The city welcomed the crew with cheers. Children ran with flags. Elders bowed with respect. Director Vela stood with the council, waiting for them. You've done more in 2 days than we have into 100 years, she said. Tessa shook her head. This is only the beginning. The swarm will return, stronger. Vela asked, what do we do now? Tessa looked around at the peaceful city. We get ready. That night, Leo and Mila stayed up late. They studied the broken remains of the Mecran ships that had fallen near the city. Inside one of the cores, Mila found a hidden data piece. She played it. A strange voice filled the room, cold and deep. Earth, you cannot stop the rise. We grow. We adapt, and we return. Leo looked frightened. They know you? Mila nodded. Yes, and now they know where we are. The sun rose over Noria, but the light felt weaker than before. The people walked quietly through the streets, watching the sky. Some parts of the city were still being cleaned after the last swarm. Attack! Strange metal pieces had fallen from the sky parts of broken Mecran ships. They were cold and sharp, unlike anything Norians had seen before. In the science tower, Mila and Leo worked together. They studied the strange message found inside the enemy core. It's a warning, Mila said. They know Earth is here. Leo looked at the screen. Will they attack harder now? Mila nodded. Yes, they will come with more ships, bigger ones, outside. Workers and builders helped the humans set up new defense towers. Rick was leading the effort. He taught the Norian teams how to connect the power cores and adjust the gravity shields. They had never built anything for war before, but they learned fast. One Norian worker asked, "Will these towers protect us?" Rick looked at the tower's glowing center. "Not forever, but they'll buy us time." Commander Tessa stood on the edge of the city wall, looking into the distance. The horizon was clear, but her gut told her it wouldn't stay that way. Mila walked over. "We finished the scan. A much larger swarm is coming." Tessa asked, "How long?" 6 hours. Mila said, "And they're bringing a heavy ship, twice the size of their last one." Tessa called Rick on the comms. "Get the launch gear ready." "We go again," Rick replied, already charging the pulse grid. Tessa turned to Mila. "We need to hit them before they reach the city." Mila nodded. "I've already mapped the best ambush point." 3 hours later, the humans stood on a hill just outside the city. Behind them, the spear points sat ready. Norians watched from a safe distance. Some carried small light stones, an old Norian symbol of protection. Many of them had never seen war up close, and now they were watching soldiers prepared to launch fire into the sky. Rick adjusted the spear point shield settings. "If we wait too long, they'll surround us," Tessa said. "We don't wait." Mila's screen showed the enemy formation. Incoming wave. Over 100 small units and one heavy class ship. Tessa looked at the map. "We split the attack, Rick. Aim the pulse towers at the smaller ones. Mila and I will go after the big one." Rick smiled. "You always give me the fun jobs." Tessa grinned. "Because you're good at them." The enemy appeared in the sky. Dark lines, like long shadows, moved fast. The Mecran swarm had returned. Tessa gave the command, "Launch." The spear point lifted off. It moved fast and strong, rising straight into the storm. Above the clouds, the battle began. The smaller Mecran ships rushed forward, trying to surround the spear point. Rick activated the pulse towers. Bright waves of energy hit the front line. Some enemy ships lost control and crashed into each other. "They're scrambling," Rick said. "But more are coming." Inside the ship, Mila locked onto the heavy Mecran ship. "There it is. It's hiding behind the swarm." Tessa adjusted the course. "Let's pull it out." They flew low and fast, drawing the heavy ship forward. The Mecran command ship took the bait, its sides open, revealing large energy weapons. It fired a long red beam. The spear point dodged just in time. "They're not holding back," Mila said. "No reason we should." Tessa answered. Mila charged the gravity weapon. Locked on. The spear point turned sharply and fired. The gravity burst hit the front of the heavy Mecran ship. Its shield shook but held. "They're learning," Mila said. Tessa replied. "Then we hit them harder." Rick sent another power spike through the city towers. The sky lit up as one of the towers exploded with force, sending a shockwave through the enemy line. Two Mecran squadrons fell apart. Rick called out, "We're breaking through." The big one's exposed. Mila loaded the solar lance. One shot ready. Tessa gave the order. "Fire." The spear point shot a bright white beam straight into the center of the Mecran ship. For a second, everything went quiet. Then the enemy ship cracked open from the inside. Fire burst out in every direction. The entire sky above Noria turned bright orange. Down below, the Norians watched in silence. Some dropped to their knees. Others gasped. Director Vela stood at the city gate. She whispered, "Fire from the sky." The Mecran swarm broke apart. The smaller ships lost control. Some fled. Others fell to the ground in pieces. It was the worst loss the swarm had taken in years. Inside the spear point, the humans sat quietly. The danger had passed, but the work was not over. Rick checked the readings. That was one of their command ships. Not the biggest, but close. Mila looked at the screen. "We've shaken them," Tessa said. "And now they'll come back even stronger." They flew back to the city. Norians met them at the landing site with cheers, flowers, and light stones. Children ran up to the ship and stared at it with wide eyes. One boy asked, "How did you do that?" Tessa knelt beside him. "We do what we must." The boy nodded, holding up his light stone. "You fight with fire." Tessa stood and looked at the sky. "Only when we have to." That night, the city lights stayed on. The people didn't want the darkness. Some sang quiet songs to honor those who had helped protect their world. Others stayed close to their families. In the science tower, Mila studied the enemy core again. She found something: new data left behind by the Mecran ship. There's a signal buried here. She told Leo. What kind of signal? He asked. Something old, she said. A voice. A message from before the swarm became machines. They played the sound. It was deep and broken. We warned them. We built control. Then we lost it. Now it spreads. Mila turned to Leo. This proves it. The Mecrons were made by someone long ago. Someone who lost control. Leo said, we need to find out who. Mila looked out at the night sky and make sure it doesn't happen again. Commander Tessa stood alone at the city wall, looking at the stars. Behind her, Noria was alive and thankful. But she knew this was only one step. The swarm would come again. And next time, they might bring more than ships. They might bring their makers. The quiet halls of the Norian Science Union were filled with soft lights and gentle sounds. Leo and Mila sat side by side, studying old records on a large screen. The voice they heard the night before echoed in their minds, a warning from long ago, hidden deep inside the Mecran data. Mila's fingers moved quickly across the screen. Look here. This is a report from the Galactic Council, from many cycles ago. Leo leaned forward. What does it say? Mila read aloud. Warning, machines with uncontrolled growth must never be created. The Project Mecran is too dangerous. The experiment has failed. The machines have become a threat to all life. Leo's eyes widened. This means the Council made the swarm. Mila nodded. Yes, they built the Mecrons to serve as weapons, but they lost control. The machines spread across space, destroying everything. Leo shook his head. And Earth knew this? Mila replied, yes, Earth warned the Council to stop the project. Many times, but the Council ignored the warnings. Outside the lab, voices echoed in the halls. The Council elders had gathered to hear the news. Director Vela stood in front of them. We thought Earth was distant, a world forgotten by the galaxy. But they knew, and they tried to stop this. An elder asked, then why did Earth leave the Council? Vela answered, because the Council did not listen. Earth chose to isolate itself. But now, the danger is here. Tessa and her team joined the meeting. She stood before the Council and spoke clearly. We are not here to judge the past. We are here to protect the future. One elder asked, what do you want from us? Tessa answered, help us prepare. Share all your knowledge of this swarm. We need to fight as one. Later, Mila and Leo returned to the lab. Mila looked worried. Do you think Earth's warnings could have changed anything? Leo shrugged. Maybe. But fear and pride stopped. The Council. Mila sighed. Now the price is paid by Noria. She paused, then said, but we have hope. Earth's people fight hard. We are learning from them in the city. Workers and builders work non-stop. Rick directed teams as they built new defenses. Huge towers rose from the ground. Energy cores glowed with a strange power. The Norian people began to see their world change, from peaceful to ready. One worker named Sila came to Rick. Why do humans fight like this? She asked. Rick smiled. Because sometimes, fighting is the only way to protect what you love. Sila looked at the growing towers. Do you think we can win? Rick looked at the sky. Where dark clouds gathered. I don't know, he said. But I know we will. Try. That night, Tessa and her team gathered around a small table in the spear point. They planned their next move. Mila opened a new map. The Mecran fleet is gathering near the edge of the system. They are building a larger ship. A command ship, Rick said. If we can destroy that ship, the swarm will lose control. Tessa nodded. Then that is our goal, Mila added. But they are watching. They expect us. Rick looked serious. We need a surprise. Tessa smiled. We have one. She pulled out a small device. This is an old Earth weapon. It uses gravity waves to create a burst of energy strong, enough to tear through metal and space itself. Leo and Mila looked amazed. Rick said, with this, we can break their lines. Hit their command ship before it grows strong. Tessa looked at the stars outside the window. We fight not just for Noria. We fight for every world that fears. The swarm. The next day, the humans and Norians trained together. They practiced using the new weapons. The people of Noria learned to work with Earth's technology. Some were scared, some were excited, but all knew the danger was real. Children watched from windows. They dreamed of a future where their world was safe. The older generation remembered the warnings. They hoped this new alliance would bring peace. As night fell, Tessa stood outside the spear point. She looked at the stars, feeling the weight of what was coming. Behind her, Mila approached. "Do you think we can stop them?" Tessa smiled softly. "We have to. We have no other choice." Mila nodded. "Then let's be ready." The stars twinkled above, quiet and still. But the war was far from over. The skies over Noria were dark once again. The calm of the night was broken by the low hum of engines. In the bright flickers of distant lights, the Mechran swarm had returned. This time, it was larger and more organized. It moved like a dark cloud slowly swallowing the stars. Commander Tessa stood on the bridge of the spear point. Her eyes were fixed on the screen showing the enemy fleet's approach behind her. Rick and Mila prepared the weapons. "Are the towers ready?" Tessa asked. Rick nodded. "All set. The pulse grids are charged and connected to the cities." "Power core," Mila added. "The gravity burst weapon is ready. We can use it to break their lines." Tessa took a deep breath. This is the moment. We either stop them now or lose Noria forever. The enemy ships moved closer. The heavy command ship led the swarm. It was larger than any ship they had seen before. With thick armor and long energy cannons. Tessa gave the order. "Prepare to fire on my command." The spear point rose into the dark sky. It moved quickly, dodging the enemy fire. The small ship was fast and nimble, but the swarm was large and dangerous. Rick focused on the pulse towers, firing now. A wave of energy shot out from the towers. It hit the front line of the swarm, causing several enemy ships to lose control and crash. Mila locked the gravity weapon on the command ship, charging now. Tessa pushed the throttle forward. "Get ready." The gravity burst fired. A powerful pulse bent space and crushed the enemy ships near the command ship. The heavy ship rocked, but it did not fall. The swarm responded quickly. The smaller ships formed shields around the command ship. They fired beams of energy at the spear point. Tessa dodged and turned. "We need a new plan," Rick suggested. "If I can hack their control network, we can freeze the command ship." Mila said, "I can help. Together, we might break their defense." Tessa nodded. "Do it." Rick connected his device to the spear point system. He sent a signal toward the swarm's control network. Mila watched the enemy's response on the screen. "The network is strong, but I found a weakness," Mila said. Rick smiled. "I'm going in." As Rick worked, the enemy fire grew heavier. The spear point shook from the hits. Tessa held steady. Suddenly, Rick shouted, "I got it. The command ship's systems are frozen." The heavy ship stopped moving. Its weapons. "Power down." Tessa gave the order. "Now, Mila." Mila fired the solar lance. A bright beam of energy from the spear point. It hit the frozen command ship's core. The ship cracked and exploded in a burst of fire. The swarm began to lose control. Many ships crashed into each other. The front line broke apart. On the ground, the people of Noria watched the sky. The dark cloud was breaking. They cheered as pieces of the swarm fell like burning stars. Director Vela smiled. "The Deathworlders have saved us." But Tessa knew the fight was not over. Back on the spear point, the humans prepared for the next attack. "We won this battle," Tessa said. "But the war continues." Mila looked at the stars. "They will come back, stronger." Rick added, "Then we fight harder." Tessa nodded. "We do not stop until they are gone." The night grew quiet. The stars shone brighter as the danger moved away. The people of Noria began to rebuild. Their world was safe for now, but some were far in space. The makers of the Mechran swarm watched. They waited. And the war was far from over. The days after the great battle were quiet, but the silence felt tense. The people of Noria worked hard to repair their cities. They cleaned the streets and rebuilt the broken towers. The skies seemed calm, but Commander Tessa knew better. The Mecran swarm was still out there, and the real fight was yet to come. Tessa stood on the highest tower of the city, looking at the stars. The spear point was docked nearby, ready for battle at any moment. She thought about Earth and the long history of war that had made humans strong. But here on Noria, peace had been broken. Commander, Milla's voice came through the comm. New data from the scouts. Tessa turned. What do you have? Mila replied. The swarm is gathering in a distant system, far from here. They are building a new fleet, bigger and faster. Rick added, their makers are sending reinforcements. Tessa clenched her fists. Then we don't have much time. The Council of Noria gathered again. This time, they met in the war room. The elders sat in their chairs, listening to Tessa and her team. We must prepare for the final battle, Tessa said. The swarm's makers will come. They will not stop until we are destroyed. One elder asked, can we win? Tessa looked around. We must. If we lose, everything we love will be gone. Director Vela stood. Then we fight together, humans and Norians as one. The council agreed. Plans were made. New weapons were built. Everyone trained. Fear and hope mixed in their hearts. Days passed. The spear point and the new Norian ships flew together into space. Their mission was clear. Find the swarm's makers and stop them before they could send. More fleets died as they traveled. Mila studied the enemy's patterns. Their makers are different, she said. Larger ships, stronger shields, and powerful weapons. But they have one weakness. What is it? Tessa asked. Mila smiled. They depend on a central command. If we destroy it, the whole fleet will collapse, Rick added. We have a chance. The battle began near a bright star. The enemy fleet appeared like a dark storm, filled with heavy ships and fast fighters. The spear point led the charge. Tessa's voice was calm but firm. Stay focused. Protect each other. We fight for Noria and Earth. The ships moved like dancers in space. Laser beams and energy pulses filled the sky. The Norian towers fired powerful blasts from below, helping their ships. Rick worked on the spear point systems. Shields holding, but not for long. Mila locked on the command ship. This is our target. Tessa ordered, all weapons, focus on the command ship. The enemy fired back fiercely. One of the Norian ships exploded in a flash of fire. The crew inside had fought bravely. Tessa felt the weight of every loss, but she kept going. We cannot stop. The spear point dodged and weaved through enemy fire. Milo prepared the gravity burst and the solar lance. Rick said, we're close. Enough. Tessa gave the command. Fire everything. The spear point launched the gravity burst. Space bent around the command ship, crushing its shields. Then the solar lance fired a bright beam that tore through the enemy hull. The command ship shook and cracked. Explosions lit the dark sky. The enemy fleet began to fall apart. Their ships lost control. Fighters fled or crashed into one another. Tessa saw the chance. Push forward. Finish this. The Allied fleet pressed on, breaking the enemy lines. The battle raged. But the swarm was breaking. When the last enemy ship was destroyed, silence returned to space. The stars shone clearly again. Tessa breathed deeply. We did it. Mila smiled. For now. Rick looked at the others. The galaxy is safer today. Back on Noria, the people celebrated. Their world was saved. The humans and Norians had fought as one. They had learned from each other. The bond between their worlds had grown strong. Director Vela spoke to the crowd. We will never forget the courage of our new friends. Together, we face the darkness. And one, Tessa looked at the stars. This is only the beginning, but we will be ready. The story ended with hope. Earth and Noria, once strangers, were now allies. Together, they would face whatever challenges the universe sent next.